Hi guys, hope you are all well. Welcome to yet another video, and this time we are looking at the most powerful single GPU of the 7000 series of AMD cards, the mighty Radeon HD 7970. This high-end card, codenamed Tahiti XT, released in December of 2012 at staggering $549 USD. Built on the same 28nm process as last week's smaller brother, the HD 7870, this beast of GPU has been equipped with 3GB of GDDR5 memory that is clocked at 1375 MHz and its core ticking at 925 MHz. As you can see, I'm keeping the DirectCU2 theme on. I managed to buy this GPU for £80 or 110 USD. Not judging by its size, how much of an improvement is this card over its smaller, lighter brother, and perhaps, how does this card compare to some of its predecessors? Only one way to figure out. But before we jump into testing, as ever, let's have a closer look and take it apart. I will be repeating myself if I was to say I'm a big fan of the Asus's DirectCU2 line of cards. Boy, this card is heavy and it will happily take 3 slots in your case. Not only that, you will also need beefy power supply and 2 8-pin power connectors to power this thing on. In terms of display outputs, there are 4 full-sized display ports and 2 DVI ports to choose from. Just as it should be, this card comes with a metal backplate, but as you can see, it serves more as a structural support and won't help much with the temps. Removing the 7 screws around the back and also 4 spring-loaded screws around the GPU core, the backplate comes off. Two more screws at the front of the card and further 6 around the base of the cooler. Man, this is some hard work. But with that, I was able to remove the cooler shroud. There are 2 more screws at the front, holding the base plate of the heatsink, and after a little wiggle, the cooler has separated. Last step was to remove the fan header, utilizing a flathead screwdriver. With that, the PCB is free, and would you just look at the power delivery of this card. I don't ever remember seeing metal brace around its core on a single GPU card before, but that looks so cool. Also, check out this fine piece of dust. I cannot wait to overclock this card beyond reasonable. The heatsink is equipped with thermal pads to cover memory modules and also the power delivery components. The old thermal paste was dry, but not too hard. Love to see those 6 fat copper heat pipes, they are quite convincing. I better crack on with cleaning. My trusty old paintbrush comes in handy once again. Whilst I'm happy to admit, this card was nowhere near as dirty as the 6970 was, there was still a significant amount of dust present at my desk, demonstrated here with my finger and a duster cloth. You guys know me too well, it's isopropyl alcohol time. Thanks to a viewer's recommendation, I have managed to order some coffee filters, and I will be using them in the future videos for some lint-free cleaning. Thank you very much. And we finish off with some fresh MX4 thermal paste. It was then time to put the card back together and jump into some benchmarks. This is the moment many waited for. Let's see the heaven scores. Oh yeah, 1424 points. I'm impressed, but let's compare this score with previous results. the 7970 leads the way for a single GPU cards by a big margin. Last week's 7870 is trailing behind by nearly 550 less points. The HD 7970 also managed to beat top dual GPU dog of the 6000 series, the 6990, by a small margin. I think this result is not shy of excellent. Would you agree? With that out of the way, let's see how does the extra muscle translate in games. We start off in Battlefield 3, about to hop on board this fighter jet. Here, the 7970 delivered butter smooth experience, an average of 84 FPS. That's 50% increase over the HD 7870. Test Drive Unlimited 2 ran nicely, and we saw average of nearly 85 FPS. That's not as impressive, but still over 20% increase over the 7870. Next up was 2016's Doom, and here, using the Ultra preset running Volcan, the average was cool 60 FPS. No complaints here, really. Running away from all the rain that's currently outside, in Far Cry 3, the 7970 pushed 76 FPS on average. That's nearly 30% more frames than what we saw with the 7870 last week. Dying Light was next. I saw just over 82 FPS on average. That's a very nice lead of nearly 60%. Very impressive. Let's see how GTA 5 does here. Cruising along with my homies using high settings, and I saw 108 FPS on average. That's a 35% increase over the 7870. Not to miss some Witcher 3 action, here the 7970 delivered solid 40 FPS on average, beating the 7870 by nearly 50% in this title. The domination continues in Dirt Rally 2, that is, not my driving skills, but rather the 84 FPS on average that we saw. That's a healthy 45% increase over the 7870.
You're under investigation by the stewards for cutting corners. You might get a time penalty.
Casually rushing off Nico's feet to play some balls with his cousin in GTA 4, I observed 95 FPS on average. The gap was much smaller here, only offering 20% uplift. In Fallout 4, the 7970 was often hitting the 60 FPS cap, and we saw 57 FPS on average. That's up from 45 that we saw last week. And we close off the game testing with some Metro 2033 Redux. The average of 24 FPS here was not allowing for a smooth gameplay, but still up by 100% of what we saw last week. Let's close off with a summary of the Radeon HD 7970. On one hand, I'm blown away by the astonishing performance that we saw in many titles, often resulting in twice as many frames when compared to the 7870. And let me remind you, we have not even touched the clocks. I think this card can be pushed hard, further extending its lead. Being far superior than any of its predecessors, one must admit what AMD have done here is nothing short of excellent. On the other hand, costing dangerously close to what two of the HD 7870s would, I don't think its purchase is justified in the eye of the average PC gamer. There was, and still is, a market for those extreme top-end cards. For some, it's simply a status. Others need their details cranked up all the way, or fill in their high refresh monitors. Sadly, nearly a decade later, where one is expected to pay £1,500 for top-of-the-line card, the 7970 does not seem as bad, doesn't it? But that is all I have for you in this video. Thank you for all your support lately, appreciate your comments, likes and the positive vibes in this channel. Do you still game on the 7970 or did you own one from new? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one.